so much was made of that contract this year when he had some struggles and, of course, didn't play a ton during that Eastern Conference Finals run. But ultimately, the contract is an asset if you're looking to trade for a star player, and you'd obviously have to attach something to that contract. But it's a number that can get you to a Kevin Durant, a Donovan Mitchell, whatever it may be. It's part of the equation if that's the choice they make.
Interested to see how that plays out. Deep three, Highsmith had it blocked, and the shot clock going to expire on Miami. Hey, here's what we're talking about. Max Strus was an extremely productive player this year for the Heat during the regular season. Obviously, a little drop-off in the playoffs, but he really made a role for himself, and he made it such that Erik Spoelstra could not afford to sit him.
Yeah, the shooting numbers, not surprising. For that type of player, oftentimes in the playoffs, those numbers go down. It's just less space, more attention on the scouting report. Thought he did a fantastic job when teams targeted him in pick and rolls and brought his man into the action so that he would switch onto a primary scorer. He held his own,
yeah,
and he did a good job. And maybe some of that, too, that engagement on the defensive end wore his legs down a little bit. But he's a tough competitor and hit that big shot.
Huge.
If you remember in Game 3 in Boston to kind of put it away.
JJ, let me ask you a question about Tyler Hero. In that Philly series, and you and I did some games in that series, it felt like Philly focused on Tyler Hero, and really he was a bit out of sorts. I mean, he was the sixth man of the year during the regular season. What do you see from him specifically, what Philly was doing to him in that series?
For guys that primarily see drop coverage or switches in the regular season to then be a focus of the scouting report to the point where teams are blitzing you constantly in pick and rolls, you have to learn how to play out of that. And, Dame Lillard, Steph Curry, those guys oftentimes get blitzed in the playoffs, but they figure out ways to go get the ball back, to receive it back on a dribble handoff, or to make a cut. And then that's the evolution for him, I think, is figuring out how to score when you are the primary focus at times in the playoffs, and you're not facing that softer drop coverage, and you can just easily make the reads that you've done time and time again.
By the way, Jonesy, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this too, along with JJ. I mean, James Harden taking less money for Philadelphia. I mean, I know you talked about the addition of PJ Tucker, but that is really because of what James is doing with his contract. I talked to Doc a bunch during that series about how great a point guard James is in that situation. You play against him, but then when you have him on your team, you realize, oh wow, his passing ability is just incredible. What's the next step in the evolution of the pairing of Joel Embiid and James Harden, in your guys' opinion?
Some of this is just time together, because we should acknowledge that for all the high volume pick and roll duos in the NBA regular season last year, they had the highest points per possession. In fact, they had the highest points per possession of any high volume pick and roll duo over the last 3 years. Harden and Embiid did.
Wow.
So some of it is just time together. They already are a great duo, and I think James Harden's value right now is as a playmaker, not necessarily a number one priority scorer.
Right. I think Doc Rivers is going to figure it out ultimately, and having Harden for the entire season could make a difference as opposed to coming in mid-season. We got a timeout on the floor. 76ers leading by 2 with 5:46 to go.